Good evening, everybody. Appreciate you tuning in to another Powwow Life here live on Facebook. We got a cool show for you tonight. I'm your host, Paul Gowder with PowWows.com, and I really appreciate everybody being back online with us tonight. Please post your comments and questions on Facebook there, and we will get to them when we can. Tonight we are going to discuss the Rio Olympics and the Native Americans that will be there. So we've got some people to follow this year and some people to root for. It's going to be pretty exciting to see what they do in Rio. And remember, we appreciate everybody's support, and if want to make sure we get more of this kind of broadcast and do more of these kind of interviews, please head on over to PowWows.com and you can help support PowWows.com and our efforts to bring you more of this kind of content. But we appreciate you being on live with us tonight. And so now I want to introduce our guest. If you've followed Native American sports at all, you are definitely familiar with Indiansports.com, and the head of Indiansports.com, the man behind it, is Brent Cahwee. And we were talking about Mary Kilman, who was in the 2012 Olympics. She is a member of the Citizen Potawatomi Band, and she was in the synchronized swimming. Finished 11th. Her team did. And you were saying she's now attending which college?
Well, I believe she finished up at Lindenwood University, where she was a three-time collegiate national champion in synchronized swimming, but I think she's retired from the sport now.
Okay, cool. All right, and we also had in 2012 Mary Spencer, who was from Ontario, and she was a boxer. I think she's still competing, maybe professionally. Do you know?
I haven't heard anything updated on Mary Spencer, who's a First Nation Chippewa from Canada. I haven't followed any of the Canadian trials to see where they're at this year, but I'm hoping to figure out who's going to be on their final roster, and hopefully we have a few more First Nation athletes competing for Canada.
Yeah, and we'll do an update on the page if anybody else makes the team here in the next couple weeks before the games start. But Mary Spencer did really well. She made it to the quarterfinals in the last Olympics. Was eliminated by China, but make it to the quarterfinals, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, anytime you're on the world stage, you're competing against the best in the world. So anytime you can collect a victory or a few victories, you're really says something about your talent.
Yep. All right, and the third one we were watching in 2012 was a member of the U.S. women's water polo team who actually won a gold medal. And let's see if you can do the name for me. Can you get that one?
Oh man, I'll go with her. I'll go with her her nickname, which is Tamua Ane.
Yeah, she's Native Hawaiian. I've never could get the Hawaiian names right. But yeah, they did great. The team won gold in 2012.
Right.
And she was actually the goalkeeper for the team.
Right.
Very cool.
Yeah, and like you said, this year she's not listed on the roster this year, so she won't be making a return with the women's team.
Yeah, but cool. We did have one gold medal, which was pretty fun to watch. So let's talk about 2016. We are still 3 weeks from the games, I believe.
Yeah, just over 20 days until the games, so it's getting close.
Yep. So we'll talk about the one everybody watched this weekend, or at least I know I was glued to the screen Friday and Sunday, following the story of Ashton Locklear, Lumbee from she's from North Carolina, right
Hamlet,
up the road
North
from
Carolina.
me. Yep, Hamlet, which is coincidentally that's where my mom was born, so it's really kind of cool. She's a hometown girl for us, and so it was really cool to see her compete. And I know you've been following her for a while.
We've been following her through the U.S. Championships this year and monitor her progress as the build up to the Olympic trials came. and all season long she's dominated the uneven bars. She beat Simone Biles, Gabby Douglas, all these girls that are currently the starting five for the Olympics gymnastics team. She beat them all year long in the uneven bars event up until the trials. And she still posted a great score in the Olympic trials. But I guess it just wasn't enough to get her that spot, which I understand from some inside information that the spot was a choice. The last spot was a choice between Gabby Douglas and Ashton, of course. I guess the way the coach felt that with Gabby, who was has the capability to perform in 4 events, that just gave her the little edge over Ashton, because Ashton had a injury a few years back, and so now she only competes in 2 events. So for her to be named as an alternate, or even if she had named a team, it's record breaking, because typically the U.S. is going to take the athletes that compete in all 4 events. The beam, the floor exercise, the balance, and the pommel horse. So they are for her to get in as an alternate and just being a specialist in 2 events. That's still quite an accomplishment in itself.
Yeah, it was. I read an interview with Ashton today, and she was talking about how she didn't know how she would fit being a specialist, and if there was going to be a spot. Throughout the trials, they were talking about the team really did need some help on the uneven bars, because, like you said, Simone and some of the other girls, that's not their strong suit.
Right.
It was cool though to see the interview with Ashton. She said once she saw the score, she kind of knew she wasn't going to make it. That Koshin was edging her out just a little bit. But she didn't know that they would take a specialist as an alternate, and so she said in the locker room she was totally shocked and completely blown away by that. So that was cool to see. She got a little surprise there, and gets to make the trip. Hopefully she doesn't compete, although I'd love to see her. But for her to compete, that means somebody gets hurt, which we don't want. But still, she'll be there.
Right. Yeah. She'll be home this week in North Carolina. And then next week she'll meet up with the Olympic team in Texas, where they'll train before they head over to Brazil. So again, she's an alternate, so she trains as if she's going to compete, because she could be asked to compete on a moment's notice for whatever reason.
Right. And that always, when football coaches talk about spring practice, they always say the great thing is just getting the practice in, and Ashton's going to get several weeks of Olympic level coaching. I mean, that's awesome. That's something that'll help her for years to come,
right.
Even if she doesn't get to compete.
Right, and like all sports, you have to be prepared on a moment's notice. You talked about spring practice, and a lot of sports say next man up.
Right.
And if should something happen, Ashton will be that. My guess is that she would be the next man up, given her skill on the uneven bars, should anything happen.
Right. Will she get to be in the opening ceremony?
I believe so, yes. So
awesome.
Hopefully we'll see her on TV when the athletes parade into the stadium, and hopefully we'll get a glimpse of the women's gymnastic team.
Cool. Somebody needs to send her a beaded rosette to wear.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. That's awesome. All right. Well, we'll definitely be pulling for Ashton and Team USA in the gymnastics. So one of the other athletes, and this is the next name we're going to talk about. I mean, he's by no means somebody that we haven't heard of. He's been doing very well out on the golf circuit, and he's now set to play in the Olympics for Team USA, and that's Rickie Fowler.
Yeah, Rickie Fowler will be a member of the men's Olympic golf team. Golf is making its return to the Olympics after a 112-year hiatus. That's a long time off there. And this is one of those areas where there's been a little bit of controversy of late with the discussions about the Zika virus that has been discussed and happening in Brazil. it's led to some of the top golfers. I believe it was today. Jordan Spieth announced that he would not be participating. He didn't give any exact reasons. Dustin Johnson, who's also supposed to be a member of the Olympic golf team, he announced that he wasn't going to participate a week ago due to the virus. So that leaves Ricky really as the top American golfer on the Olympic team. He'll be in the number one spot. The way the golf process is, they do have third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth alternates should anything happen to the top players. So Ricky will be going into the Olympic, leading the Olympic team basically for the United States. So that is pretty awesome.
That's awesome. And do you know? I think I saw this earlier, but I forgot now. He's from what? Oh, there he is. We actually got your site pulled up, showing everybody. It's actually Navajo.
Yeah, he's grandfather was full Navajo, and his grandmother was full Navajo. I mean, his grandfather was full Japanese, and his grandmother was full Navajo.
Great, yeah, and he's had a good couple of years out on the golf circuit. So hopefully he'll do well there in Rio too.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, like I said, because golf is making its return for the first time in 112 years. So anytime there's an event that is generating a lot of news, there should be quite a bit of TV coverage with that. So, and Ricky is one of the top 10 players in the world as well. So he'll definitely be one of the favorites to win gold, silver, or bronze as individually. And the team has a good chance of winning the gold, silver, bronze as well.
Yeah, that'll be great. So you mentioned Zika. What are you hearing some of the athletes talk about? Is it a concern for other athletes? Do you think more are going to drop out?
To me, I think that, it is concern for a lot of athletes. I think that we've probably heard more about it from the U.S. side, from the golfers that had declined to participate. But I think for a lot of athletes, this is really once they train from the time they can walk to compete in the Olympics. And sometimes that it doesn't matter if they were having a hurricane in Brazil, they would still go down there and compete because this is something they've been preparing for their whole lives. So I think with a lot of people, they have that type of commitment to their sport. Whereas golf, it's in essence, it's just going to be another tournament,
right,
called the Olympics, right. And then so I don't think they put so much into building up peaking in their careers at the Olympics, such as other sports like runners and gymnasts.
Right.
They train to get to the Olympics and prepare their bodies to do that. So. They're going to be a little more dedicated to get to the Olympics, and nothing's going to stop them.
Do you think it's going to affect? I know we're getting off the subject of natives in the Olympics, but
yeah.
But this is it's part of sports in the Olympics. Do you think that's going to affect the tennis team at all? It's another sport where they're not training necessarily for the Olympics. It's another tournament for them.
It wouldn't be surprising if maybe a small percentage didn't decide to attend for. A lot of people are starting to not give the reasons why they're attending Brazil's, but it's pretty obvious what the reason is.
Right.
And I wouldn't be surprised to hear a few more before the end of the week that have decided that they were going to participate under the guise of personal reasons or health conditions.
Yeah. And we've got some fans out there of Ashton. Vicky out there is saying she's going to watch and actually said, bring your own water. And we've got some others. Sandra Romo, she's a supporting Ashton. So it's pretty cool to see everybody getting behind Ashton, and make sure we get behind Ricky and the other athletes too. And we've got one more to talk about that's going to be in Rio representing, and that is on the volleyball team for Team Canada.
Yes, her name is Jamie Thibault, and she's from the Sook First Nations, which is a coastal Salish tribe. And she will be with the Canadian volleyball team that will be competing. So she's been on the national team since 2010. So she played collegiately at the University of Montana before competing with the national team. So Canada will be First Nations athlete will be someone to watch as well. And like I said, as the Canadian has their Olympic trials completed, we'll be able to find out if there are any other First Nations athletes that will be competing.
Yeah. And do you know how's the Canadian volleyball team looking as far as are they medal favorites? That's not one of the sports I keep up with a lot, so I'm not sure how we're doing in volleyball.
Yeah, I think the U.S. women's team is probably going to be one of the favorites, and of course Brazil would probably be a favorite, I would assume, as well as maybe Cuba. But Canada is certainly an experienced team. They, I could see them competing in the bronze game, getting to that level. But it'll you still have to go down there and compete, and that's
Right.
sports. People like to give the team with the best athletes the gold medal right away, but they still have to go down there and compete and defend their title or, just compete at that level.
Yeah. And the Olympics, that's a big stage. I mean, it's bigger than most of these athletes will ever see. So yeah, it's you got to show up that day. All right, well, those are the three athletes we are going to watch for the 2016 games. Everybody, make sure you stay tuned on Indiansports.com, and we'll have coverage over on PowWows.com too. We'll try to keep you up to date and when to watch and how everybody's doing. So that's going to be fun to watch. And starts
Yeah,
August. What's the date? August
12.
12th.
Or no, today's July 12th, but yeah, Olympics are coming up in about 23 days. So,
All right. So cool. Now we had also talked a little bit about this past year, and we've had some native athletes kind of who were outstanding this past year. You want to give us a little bit of maybe a year in review and how things went this year?
oh, sure, sure. I mean, we had a great year, I think, this year for Native American athletes competing at the highest level in their sports. You go back all the way to the fall in August when you start with the collegiate runners. You had Mackenzie Wapipaw Harris, who's from the Kickapoo tribe, who runs collegiately for Oklahoma City University, win their second consecutive national title. And also, Mackenzie was also named to his second All-American team as well in cross country. So that was pretty exciting for us to follow his season to see how much he was accomplishing. And then even on the football realm in college, a lot of what we do is cover college athletes, but we had some breakout players, freshmen from the University of Miami, Ohio. His name was Poppy White, and he had about 5 highlight reels that ended up on ESPN because he's such an explosive player, and I think even made a few top 10 Sports Centers
Oh, cool.
season as well. So he'll be coming back for his sophomore season to improve on what he accomplished last year. And also Dayton Evans, who's from the Wichita affiliated tribes. He's the starting quarterback at the University of Tulsa, and he'll be a senior this year. So he'll be definitely looking to go out in a bowl game his senior season. So he'll be something that will be somebody that will be closely watching on the collegiate level anyways. And of course, on the professional level, we have Sam Bradford from the Cherokee Nation, who's also a Nike N7 ambassador,
Right.
who made quite a bit of news this offseason with his Philadelphia trade and negotiations for his contract. So that made quite a bit of national news. But he's looking to have. I think they have a new head coach, so I think he'll be pretty hungry to try to improve on what he did last year. And then in Kansas City, we have a couple of Native athletes on their squad. James Winchester, who's from the Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma. He's the long snapper. He's the guy that hikes the ball during the extra points or the punts.
Right.
And then we also have Tyler Bray, who moved into the number 2 quarterback spot, who's from the citizen band Potawatomi Nation. So there's a possibility he could see some field time in the event the starting quarterback, Alex Smith, is unable to. So Tyler Bray at the moment going into off season or going into training camp coming up will be the number 2 quarterback. Because in the offseason, the Chiefs had traded their number 2 quarterback to, I think they traded him to Philadelphia as well.
All right, so you mentioned Nike N7 ambassadors.
Mm-hmm.
Got to take a break here, and I just have to ask you, what do you think of Durant leaving Oklahoma?
Well, I'm not sure that classifies under Native American athletes.
But
he did have an
N7.
He did have a Nike N7 shoe that helped out the program. You know, that's the business of sports. I think people don't realize that professional sports is a business. These guys are professional athletes. They don't get to have 30 years and then a retirement party. These guys have less than 10 to 12 years to make the money that they're going to use the rest of their life. So whoever is going to offer them the best contract deal, the most money or whatever, that for them, that's something they have to take on. That's something that they have to jump on because, in 5 or 6 years, Kevin Durant might have a knee that blows out or he may not be as good. And so the type of money that they're offering now isn't going to be what they offer then. So, but, I think a lot of people in the state of Oklahoma are definitely upset with his choice of teams. You can liken it to Jacoby Ellsbury going from his Navajo, going from Boston to New York, which is something that you just don't do in that rivalry.
No.
So for Kevin to go to a team that he couldn't beat, that stinged a lot of people in the state of Oklahoma. And it won't be something that people get over until after that first game when Golden State comes to Oklahoma City and all the boot birds, everybody can get it out of their system. But Kevin Durant did a lot for the Oklahoma City community with the youth. He was involved with the Oklahoma City area. So I think once they get past that first year, then people can go back to liking Kevin Durant like they did before.
Right. Got some more people that are posting comments and really in support of our Native athletes. Audrey, she's proud of these athletes and looking forward to watching them. Johnny Clark said for them just to trust in who they are. And we also have a comment there. Somebody wanting to know how we do this equipment. We'll be glad to anybody out there that has questions about how we're doing this, just shoot me an email or a message on Facebook afterwards, and we can talk the technical stuff.
Just don't ask that PowWows.com IT guy.
Yeah, well, I don't know where he went, but that guy who messed up the video or the audio in the beginning, he's fired. All right, cool. So that was the football. How about spring sports? Do we have any good news this year?
And going into the winter sports with volleyball, or continuing with the volleyball into spring, we had Tiana Dockery, who's Navajo at the University of Kansas. Their program advanced to the Final Four for the first time in program history in the women's national championship tournament. So that was pretty exciting. What was also exciting for Tiana was for her Kansas team advancing as far as they did. She is now the winningest Kansas volleyball player in school history. So she has that record going for her right now. And she is finished up her career at Kansas as a senior as well this year. Also, which was exciting with the women's volleyball, was Alicia Ostrander, who's Ogallala Lakota. She was a member of the Nebraska women's volleyball team who actually won the national championship. I had the opportunity to go and attend the women's Final Four and visit with both of these young ladies and their parents. And it was just a great opportunity for both of them to be a native athlete on the biggest stage in volleyball, and we were there to cover it and get pictures and do interviews and stuff like that. So that was really cool at that level for volleyball.
Cool. That's awesome.
And then, of course, basketball, which is the biggest sport in Indian country. So many athletes to follow and so many players to be recognized at, the junior college level, the NAIA level, and of course the Division I level. We had great accomplishments on those levels as well. We had the United Tribes women's basketball program advance to the NJCAA national tournament for the first time in school history. And they actually came to the tournament and put on a really good show. I think they went to one of the teams that made it to the Final Four, but they came and represented their school and their tribes well, and they had a lot of support, fans in the area to support them, and so that was good to see for them. And actually, they had one of their JUCO players. She ended up transferring to the University of Nevada, a Division I school now. She got recruited there, so she'll be playing in the fall with the Wolfpack. At the NAI level, we had the Haskell Indian Nations University women's basketball program. They actually won their conference championship for the first time in school history, which also assured them a spot in the NAIA national tournament, where they also had a good showing, but they were unable to get past some of the top talent teams in the country for NAIA. The good thing about their team was they only lost one senior to the team, so they have the core nucleus of their team coming back this season. And they, the last time I had talked to the women's basketball coach at Haskell, I think he had recruited at least 10 or 11 new girls with a handful of transfers that are going to be ready to contribute right away to that support, to that cast of returners that they have. So they look to possibly get back to the national tournament as well, and they're going to be a team to reckon with, I think, for the next few years as well. And of course, at the Division I level, we had Derek Willis, who is from the couple of tribes, Northern Arapaho, Pawnee, and Muskogee Creek tribes. He had quite a few breakout games this year for the University of Kentucky, and he'll be a senior returning this upcoming season for the program. And of course, we can't forget Bronson Caning and that shot that he made in the NCAA tournament that had Bill Murray looked in a dazed and confused. So that was really exciting for the Wisconsin program that a lot of people had written off because they lost 4 starters from the previous year. So for them to advance as far as they did in the tournament, I think they got to the Sweet 16. I can't remember. It's been so long. But Bronson hitting that buzzer-beating shot over Xavier, that was definitely one of the highlights of the basketball season.
Yeah, that was unbelievable. Is he returning to the team?
Yes, Bronson will return for his final season this year. So that'll be, I think we're planning on getting to a couple of games and, again, get an interview. Bronson's been really great about giving us interview. We traveled to a couple of his games now, and we've been able to get exclusive interviews with Bronson. So we're looking to do that again when they'll play a non-conference game with Creighton, which is in Omaha, and we'll travel there and look to get some interviews with Bronson. So, and hopefully he'll have an opportunity when his career is over at Wisconsin to possibly enter his name into the draft and see where it goes from there.
Awesome. Yeah, and while you're talking, I'm pulling up some of the pictures from Indiansports.com to show people who we're talking about. Remember, everybody, if you want to follow these athletes and learn more about them, Indiansports.com is the place for you to follow these, whether it's basketball or volleyball, whatever your sport is. If you want to follow native athletes, that's the place to go. So like them on Facebook, follow them on Twitter, YouTube or Instagram, or just go to their page. They've got the information for you.
Awesome. Thanks.
Yeah.
And then, in softball, in your neck of woods, SEC country,
Mm-hmm.
the Ole Miss softball program, the Rebels, they had an outstanding young freshman, true freshman, Haley Lunderman, who's from the Choctaw, Mississippi band of Choctaw, and she's also Lakota. She had a great year for the Rebels. She actually broke the season record for hits for the Ole Miss program, and she was also named to the SEC freshman team. And she was actually even a top 10 finalist for National Freshman of the Year. So she played a big role, a big part in the Ole Miss program advancing, earning a win in the SEC tournament, and then not only earning a win, but also advancing to the women's NCAA national tournament as well. Unfortunately, they drew a round against Oklahoma region, so they had to play the powerhouse softball program in the Big 12, the Oklahoma Sooners, in the regional championship to try and advance. And of course, Oklahoma ended up pulling it out over Ole Miss. But it was still a great season for Haley Lunderman and the Ole Miss Rebels.
Cool. Always love to hear an SEC school do well. We're a little biased down here in the South.
Yeah, and then kind of rounding out in the same neighborhood there, we had Elliot Barzilli from the Nooksack tribe. He is a third baseman for TCU, Texas Christian University of the Big 12. They actually advanced to the Baseball College World Series in Omaha, and we were able to go up there and interview Elliot and his parents and experience that program success at the College Baseball World Series. And he was a junior, so he'll be returning one more year for his senior year. And so we're hoping TCU can make it their fourth straight appearance in the College World Series. So we can go back to, we had a great time attending that as well.
Yeah, we South Carolina's done well the last few years in baseball. So we down here, Gamecock fans, we like to follow baseball, of course, and our Gamecocks almost made it to Omaha back this year, but we lost in the super regionals, I think. But how about that team? I know we're getting off topic again, but it was a South Carolina team, Coastal Carolina, winning it all. That was unbelievable. It was great to watch. Such a Cinderella story, and they go all the way. That was fun.
Yeah, the first national championship in any sport for that college.
Yes.
And I think that's why people love college sports every year. You're going to get teams that have no business winning, or teams taking down Goliaths. Division 2A teams taking down NCAA 1 schools. That's the great thing about college sports is they still have to go out there and compete every day, because no team is just going to lay over and let them win. And so you get these exciting games to watch. That's fun for the fans.
Yeah, that was really exciting.
Nerve-wracking for the opposing teams, but
yeah. They took down Oklahoma State, I think. Yeah, they beat some big powerhouses.
Yeah, they did. They took down Florida, which was the number 1 ranked team in the nation at the time as well. So
should have been us, but that's okay. My Gamecocks will be back soon.
Yeah, right. But yeah, it was a great year. Right now we have professional baseball. We have Jacoby Ellsbury, the Yankees, getting ready to come up on the All-Star break, and he's been hitting a lot better as opposed to the first part of the season. So we're continuing to follow him and his success. Probably one of the off stories that we've been covering so far for professional sports is in the off season in the WNBA, Shoni Schimmel from the Umatilla tribe was traded from the Atlanta Dream to the New York Liberty. and she did start a few games, not start, but she did participate in a few games at the beginning of the season. But as the season's progressed, she has seen her minutes reduce from an average of 6 to 8 minutes to less than 2 now. So, that's one thing that we're hoping that will change for New York. Obviously, they are one of the top teams in the WNBA right now. They have a winning formula, and no coaches that has a winning formula is going to change that. So I think until New York Liberty starts getting into panic mode, I don't know if we'll see Shoni Schimmel on the court much for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I know for the fans out there, she has a lot of supporters. I know that's disappointing for them, but hopefully she'll get back on the court eventually here.
Yeah, and that's the part of that's the game of professional sports about. Yep. Is you got to just get yourself better year in and year out, and hopefully like you said, we'll see her on the court soon again.
Yeah. Cool. Well, that was awesome. It's really amazing to see that natives are competing in all levels of sports, professional on down to high school. We've got some real stars and some rising talent. It's going to be fun to watch in Rio. And like we said earlier, make sure you stay tuned to PowWows.com and Indian Sports as the Canadians finish filling their teams. We may have a few more athletes to watch, but make sure you stay tuned to our sites to find out who's going to be there. Well, Brent, again, thanks so much for being on. We love talking sports. I said, eventually my Gamecocks will be in these conversations more, but...
Yeah, Paul, it's always great coming to your show, and always have a good time, and always enjoy our Big 12 SEC talks.
Yeah. Oh, man. If only my Gamecocks could get it right in football. It was a rough year. It was a rough year. But Gamecock fans there's always next year. Oh, anyways, Brent, thanks so much for being on, man. I'm sure we'll talk to you soon, and stay tuned for what's going to happen down there in Rio.
All right, thanks, Paul. Good to see you.
Thanks. All right, everybody. Thanks again for tuning in tonight. I think we gave you some great information on who to watch as we head to Rio. Like I said, please go to indiansports.com, check out their page. Follow them on social media and stay up to date so you can know where your favorite athletes are. And be sure to also share this video with your friends. Post it on your Facebook and Twitter so we can get more people supporting our native athletes. Be sure to subscribe to the PowWows.com newsletter so you can get more information about our upcoming shows. And, of course, if you want to see more content like this, please head on over to PowWowNation.com and find out how you can support PowWows.com in our efforts to bring you more interviews and videos and reports. But thanks, everybody. We appreciate your support. We appreciate you tuning in and all your comments. And we'll see you down the trail soon. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.